Welcome, one and all, to this edition of Pacific414 Pop Talk. I'm your host, Mike, and this evening I'm going to be covering several topics. One of them being Kathleen Kennedy. Is she or isn't she still the CEO of Lucasfilm? I'm also going to be talking about the reviews for Cowboy Bebop and also Netflix pretty much overpowering Disney Plus for the streaming wars and for the international viewers of Star Trek Discovery, how Paramount CBS has pretty much pulled the rug out from under you. Now, I do want to make it perfectly clear that I am no fan of Star Trek Discovery. I have tried to give it a chance. I have watched all 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery. I have watched a season of Star Trek Picard, and it's not for me. To be perfectly honest, it's not for me. But to any of you who feel that CBS has wronged you, any of you who, you know, are part of that international crowd who is now unable to watch season 4 of Star Trek Discovery thanks to Paramount CBS pulling the show from Netflix International, well, you should be upset. I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't be upset. You know, it, it sucks for you guys. I'm going to say that. It really does suck for you guys. That here it is. Tomorrow will be the season 4 premiere of Star Trek Discovery, yet there will be a portion of that fan base for Star Trek Discovery who won't be able to see it. And I don't need to keep going on about my own feelings about the series, but I will say that for you, the fan of Star Trek Discovery, you got the shaft. Plain and simple, you got the shaft. This is a decision by Paramount CBS to pull Star Trek Discovery from Netflix International, and you should be upset. Hell, Godzillionaire, hell. How are you doing tonight, brother? Good to see you here. So, I'm going to go ahead and read this article. And this article is from Deadline. And it says Star Trek Discovery exits Netflix tonight, set for 2022 launch on Paramount Plus globally. So this was actually posted yesterday, so it's already done and gone from Netflix International. It says exclusive Star Trek Discovery is heading home. And let's be perfectly honest, this is what CBS Paramount has wanted to do with Paramount Plus. They wanted to try to get all the Star Trek content, whether it's all the past series or all the previous movies, under one umbrella instead of having some of the content on Paramount Plus, some of the content on Amazon Prime, some of it on Hulu, and some of it on Netflix. But I will say, for some of us, we picked up the DVDs, the Blu-rays of each season, of each movie that came out. Whether you like the J.J. Abrams movies or not, really, that's up to you. I know how I feel about them, but if you like them, well, then good for you. That's your entertainment. But this article goes on to say that more than 4 years after the series, starring Sonequa Martin Green, launched on what was then CBS All Access in North America and Netflix in the rest of the world, Discovery will be leaving the streamer as of midnight tonight, or midnight yesterday. It says, in a just closed deal between Viacom CBS and Netflix, the Shuri Redstone controlled company has ended the lucrative financial arrangement that launched Discovery back in 2017. And it says, in broad strokes, the bargain that then CBS head honcho Les Moonves made with Netflix saw the latter paying the vast majority of Discovery's hefty budget for the overseas rights. With the top tier IP fully back in the fold, the plan is for Discovery to take flight at Paramount Plus around the globe starting next year. Again, starting next year. So you all in the international markets, wherever that may be, wherever you're listening to this right now, you all are getting the shaft right now. Because if you were looking forward to watching Star Trek Discovery's 4th season premiere tomorrow night, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to do it because CBS and Paramount had other things in mind. I'm not advocating that you sail the high seas and watch it that way. I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that you all got the shaft. It would be like if, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Voyager, or Enterprise were airing today and they got pulled here in the US for another network that maybe only a quarter of the country had. Then, that's just it's a lot of BS. It says the UK, Germany, Ireland, Austria, and Switzerland will be among the first markets to stream Discovery on Paramount Plus. Of the more than 20 countries the platform is available in outside of North America. Viacom CBS has said that as part of an accelerated expansion, it anticipates being in about 45 markets within the next year or so. And of course, a high profile brand like Star Trek will lead that charge. In Canada, Discovery will stay on Bell Media's CTV Sci-Fi channel and streams on Crave under the long-standing deal with the Northern broadcaster. It says no details were given of the deal that Viacom, CBS, and Netflix struck for the first 3 seasons of Discovery, but we hear it was a healthy 6 figures. The arrangement removes any stake that Netflix had in the series. There's a timely quality to the new deal as season 4 of Star Trek Discovery is set to kick off November 18th on Paramount Plus in the States. As we rapidly expand our global streaming footprint, we are bringing more of our top titles home to Viacom's CBS for Paramount Plus markets around the world. Viacom CBS Network's international streaming boss, Kelly Day, told Deadline today, "We have a strong global and local content pipeline that positions us for success across our regions. And repatriating beloved series like Star Trek Discovery for Paramount Plus is another step forward as we bring fans more must-watch series worldwide." Like a lot of media companies, CBS and Viacom separate. Okay, let me look at that again. Like a lot of media companies, CBS and Viacom separately, and since their reunion in late have looked for opportunities to reduce costs as they ramp up streaming originals. Star Trek series had output deals with various parties, including Bell in Canada and Amazon and Netflix in much of the world. But CBS All Access was rebranded as Paramount Plus in March, and its offerings expanded and went global starting over the summer. Earlier this month, Viacom CBS reported having nearly 47 million streaming subscribers all across its services. It hasn't yet broken out specific numbers for Paramount Plus, and a move as a sign of the difficulty of expanding streaming across the entire world. Viacom CBS formed a joint venture with Comcast for the Sky Showtime platform, which is set to launch in Europe. While Star Trek Picard will still be on Amazon outside North America, and Star Trek Lower Decks will be on the Jeff Bezos owned streamer outside the US and Canada and Latin America, the Starfleet shift off Netflix was hinted at earlier this year. Back at the end of September, Star Trek the Original Series, Star Trek Voyager, and Star Trek Enterprise all left the streamer. Now we know where the true final frontier is. Yeah, it's Paramount CBS saying, we want it all under one umbrella. We want you to fork out more money for another streaming service just to watch Star Trek content. No, I'm sure if you really look around, you can find each and every movie and each and every series for a somewhat reasonable price by looking online, if you wanted to purchase it and add it to your collection. Like I said before, I do not advocate piracy. I don't advocate it in any way, shape, or form. But you do you. And this isn't me getting soft on Star Trek Discovery. I have my feelings about it. You can look at my reviews of season 3 and you'll know full well what I think about it. But this is just me looking at it objectively and seeing that there is a fan base that is getting shafted, and you guys are definitely getting shafted. No, no other way to look at it. I mean, okay, Godzilla. I'm gonna ask you this hypothetical question. Say you live in an international market that you're getting Netflix from, and you happen to be a fan of Star Trek Discovery. And then you get this news yesterday that Netflix will no longer be carrying Star Trek Discovery on their platform. How would you feel? How would any of you feel? Whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this, you know, on replay, let me know in the comments section. Because I'd really like to hear from all of you. I mean, it sucks. I'm just going to come out and say it. It sucks for anyone who is a fan of Star Trek Discovery or Alex Kurtzman Trek, or some people they call it Fate Trek. I Like I said, I don't particularly care for the current iterations of Star Trek, but that's me. So let me know in the comment section below what you all think about it. And while we do that, I am going to move on to the next article of discussion that I wanted to talk about in tonight's episode of Pop Talk. All right. All right. Godzillionaire, you gave me your honest answer, and I appreciate that. Godzillionaire says, if I'm an STD fan, I obviously have brain damage, so I would feel nothing. Okay, that's a good, honest take. If I were a fan of Star Trek Discovery, like I said, I would feel shafted. And even though I'm not a fan of Star Trek Discovery, I think that anybody who pays for Netflix, especially in the markets that it's in Europe where Discovery was available, and you liked it, well, You should be angry. You know, I did see some tweets where some people were saying, you know, this is time to ban capitalism. No, no, no. That's just a stupid statement. That's just a stupid statement. But this next article I want to talk about, getting off Star Trek Discovery, is one I happened to find last night on Yahoo Entertainment, and it's talking about The Simpsons. Now, I know The Simpsons doesn't have nearly the popularity it once had. Trust me. I I can remember, and yes, this is going to give away my age, but I can remember being in the 5th grade when The Simpsons came out, and everybody at my school was talking about it. And for a good 6 seasons, everybody is talking about it. And before I continue, I just want to get to Godzillionaire's comment. It says the difference is you get more than just STD with Netflix. That's true. For CBS All Access or whatever they wanted you to sub to for STD, that is very true, Godzillionaire. You get more for your money with Netflix. Now, I know a lot of people have their feelings about cuties. I'm one of them. I don't think it should have been allowed on the platform. And it puts me in a predicament of, do I really want to reactivate my subscription for Netflix and watch season 4 of Cobra Kai? I don't want to sell the high seas. I'm going to get that out of the way. I don't want to sell the high seas. But I do want to see Cobra Kai season 4. So, you know, that's a decision I'm going to have to make. That's a decision that when it comes time to the end of December and season 4 of Cobra Kai is released, will I want to up my Netflix subscription? I don't know. Right now, I'm saying no. Right now, I'm saying no. And knowing myself as well as I do, it'll probably still be no on December 31st. Even though I would really like to review Cobra Kai season 4. I don't know. Maybe, you know, if somebody has a Netflix account that they don't mind sharing, maybe they, you know, do a quick binge. I don't know. I just don't, you know, I don't feel like giving Netflix $9 a month. I don't feel like giving them $20 a month. I don't feel like giving any streaming service a large amount of money, especially with all the streaming services that are out there now. So, you know, let me ask you all this. What would you do? You know, would you sign up for Netflix again just to watch one show? Which I think paying $20 a month just for one show, that's a lot. You might as well look for a physical copy, even though I haven't seen any, and who knows if we ever will get physical copies of these shows on Netflix. But I'd rather pay that $20 for a physical copy of a season or 2 or 3, or in this case 4 seasons of Cobra Kai, and have the availability of watching it whenever I want by putting in the Blu-ray or the DVD, depending on how it comes out. But that's just me. So let's get on to this next article. It says The Simpsons showrunner Al Jean has some ideas for the long-running animated series' eventual conclusion. In a recent interview with Radio Times, Jean said he wants the series finale to tie into the show's very first episode, The Simpsons roasting on an open fire. It says, I mentioned that there would be an ending where the last episode they'd be going excuse me, back to the Christmas pageant from the first episode, so that the whole series was a continuous loop. He said that's how I would end it if I had to. But Jean doesn't see the acclaimed sitcom ending anytime soon. Honestly, I think it's been going on for a lot longer than anybody expected it to, and I can't tell you the last time I actually sat down and watched a full episode of The Simpsons. I think the last time I even saw anything Simpsons related was the Family Guy Simpsons crossover. So this article says, to be honest, the talk of ending, especially as we're doing pretty well on Disney Plus in the US and the UK and other countries in the Americas, I don't see anybody going, let's wrap it up or figure out how we got out of it at the moment, he said. The Simpsons premiered in 1999 and is currently in its 33rd season, having recently aired its 700th episode. The Fox series follows the daily shenanigans of the working class Simpson family, led by Homer Simpson, voiced by Dan Castellaneta. And it says, in the Radio Times interview, Jean confessed to having calculated when the series would hit 1,000 episodes. That's 12 more seasons. I'll just be saying I'll be happy to be there in 12 seasons' time, he said. But it's not a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a little further than that. The Simpsons has been renewed through season 34, keeping it on the air until at least 2023. And it says, but John previously told Variety he's not sure how much longer the show will last. We're going to definitely do 757 episodes, he said in March. He wouldn't say that's the end, but I don't know how much further we can go. As for Simpsons creator Matt Groening, or Groening, I don't see any end in sight. It's always possible, the animator told USA Today in 2018. I live in denial of death, much less the cancellation of The Simpsons. The Simpsons airs, of course, Sundays at 8 p.m. on Fox. It's had a rotating time slot and aired on different weeks. Let's see. Just checking. Okay. So, what do you all think? You think the Simpsons should go to 757 episodes and call it a day, or do you think they should try to go 12 more seasons and reach 1,000 episodes? I don't know. It's really up to Disney. They're in control. They run the show. They're the only ones that can say, yes, we'll renew it for another season. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to believe that The Simpsons is still on the air. It really is. I would have thought that they would have ended it possibly around the 10th season, but it just keeps going. It's like the Energizer Bunny. It keeps going and going and going. I mean, when I last watched it, like I said, it was the Family Guy Simpsons crossover. And, I got some chuckles. I'm not gonna lie. They weren't like pity laughs. I laughed, especially when Homer and Peter were fighting each other. I laughed. It was a crossover. You don't really get too much from crossover episodes, in my opinion. But I laughed. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. But I can't believe myself that it's still on after all these years. I've gone through elementary, junior high or middle school, depending on where you are, high school. I've had some college, been working most of my life, and The Simpsons has been around most of my life. Wow. I can only think that by now they're just recycling stories that they've already told and trying to put any new fresh layer of paint on it just to make it look new. All right. So there's another article I wanted to talk about tonight on this episode of Pop Talk. And this one is coming out of Bounding in the Comics. Let me get rid of a few pop-ups here before I put it on screen. And this is by Spencer Bacoli. And this was released yesterday. And it says, Mel Gibson confirms Lethal Weapon 5 moving forward. Will direct film at behest of original franchise director Richard Donner. And it goes on to say, the future of the Lethal Weapon franchise has been up in the air since the passing of franchise director and filmmaking great Richard Donner, but now thanks to Mel Gibson, it seems fans will finally see the conclusion of Martog and Tug and Riggs. Murdoch. I'm thinking General Martok. I'm thinking General Martok. That's where my mind's at. Yes, Lethal Weapon. Galron. You and I will be a duo. A duo? Why? Because it is for the glory of the Empire. Okay, so Murdaugh and Riggs time on the LAPD. Of course, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. It says, speaking at a recent November 13th an experience with event in London, a black tie event which featured a conversation with the actors structured to encourage Mr. Gibson to share untold stories and anecdotes from his life and unbelievable movie career. Gibson revealed his plans for the future of the series. It says, the man who directed all the Lethal films, Richard Donner, he was a big guy, began Gibson. He was developing the screenplay and he got pretty far along with it. And he said to me, one day, listen, kid, if I kick the bucket, you will do it. He continued and said, shut up. But he did indeed pass away. But he did ask me to do it, and at the time I didn't say anything. He said it to his wife and to the studio and the producer. Gibson noted before confirming, so I will be directing the fifth one. It goes on to say, Donner had been working for years on the fifth Lethal Weapon film, and which he previously revealed would be titled Lethal Finale prior to his passing in July 2021. As of December 2020, the film had been in active development, with Donner set to direct a then-in-progress script penned by Lethal Weapon 4 screenwriter Channing Gibson. Okay, I'll wait for this pop-up to get out of here. Actually, I haven't seen much of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Godzilla Air. But from what I've heard from quite a few people, it's a good show. Maybe one of these days I should start binging it. Okay, it says, however, as confirmed by Gibson, the project is now working off of a story penned by original Equalizer writer Richard Weck. Further, the film will go straight to HBO Max and will have no theatrical release. Are you excited to see Gibson direct Lethal Weapon 5? Let us know in your thoughts on social media or in the comments down below. And before I ask a question, Always Sunny is amazing if you're into dark humor. Actually, I am. So I'll definitely check it out one of these days, if not, sometime within the next few days. But what do you think? Fifth Lethal Weapon film that won't be going to theaters. It'll only be on HBO Max. Would you want to watch it because of the previous 4 films? Will Joe Pesci come back? Who knows? I don't know. I've seen Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2. I never saw Lethal Weapon 3 or 4, so I don't know. I just saw this article, saw that they were talking about a Lethal Weapon 5 and thought, well, there's some Lethal Weapon fans out there. Maybe I'll talk about this and see what they all have to say. I mean, I'll be honest. Lethal Weapon wasn't really one of those movie series I had to see. I enjoyed part 1 and part 2. I was kind of more into Rambo at the time. Rambo, Sylvester Stallone and First Blood Part 2, then Rambo 3. I did see Rambo Last Blood and I thought it was okay. I'll admit it. All right. So, already talked about Star Trek Discovery, already talked about Lethal Weapon, already talked about The Simpsons. And next thing I wanted to talk about is this. Because according to some people, Doctor Who fans are, well, unable to grasp the concept of the current season. I know some of us, we're just not watching Doctor Who anymore. We've just lost interest. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Privacy. Yeah, all these sites, do you agree with our privacy terms? I kind of have to if I want to read the article. All right, so this article is coming out of the Daily Star. And it says Doctor Who fans confused as they fail to grasp concept of complex storyline. Or maybe it's just not any good. It says Doctor Who viewers appeared to be unimpressed as the latest installment of the popular BBC show offered a complex and overcomplicated storyline which left many spectators confused. And this is by Siobhan Watson. It was released on this side, at least, on the 14th. So it goes on to say Doctor Who fans were left rather bewildered on Sunday night as they failed to grasp the concept of what was taking place during the confusing episode. Again, maybe it just wasn't any good. I don't know. I didn't see it. I have no interest in watching Doctor Who right now. I started dipping out at the end of Capaldi's run. It says several fans appeared excited and filled with anticipation before their favorite sci-fi program began. However, things fell flat quite quickly amongst avid viewers when the Doctor began traveling through various time streams, with some suggesting the storyline didn't seem to hit the mark. Though there was quite a long going on during the episode, the concept wasn't making too much sense, which leads several viewers to complain. It says, talking to Twitter, fans of the BBC show expressed their confusion. Goes on to say, One spectator wrote, "Love how the first two episodes were pretty coherent with an understandable story, and now this one is just all over the place. It's like the editors just, okay, all right, yeah, no, we'll wait. All right, and now this is okay. Let me start over again since that pop up messed me up." One spectator wrote, "Love how the first two episodes were pretty coherent with an understandable story, and now this one is just all over the place. It's like the editors just shuffled scenes." It goes on to say, "Another chimed, biggest well done to all the actors, writers, and creatives on Doctor Who. This is no reflection on you, but I think the show's overcomplicated itself over the years." Says a third said, "Last week was a bit better as it was more standard story, but now they're back to just straight up mess of an episode." And more complaints and more complaints. So the article goes on to say, "The plot details for the third chapter of the series reveal the Doctor, Dan, Yaz, and Vinder face a battle to survive during the episode as they find themselves on a planet that shouldn't exist in the aftermath of the apocalypse." Yeah, if only I could speak, right? So maybe the story is just not any good. I mean, it happens. There are plenty of times where a story, whether it's for a novel, a television show, a movie, just isn't any good. Maybe fans are just tired of all this poor quality that we've been getting over the years. I mean, tomorrow, Ghostbusters Afterlife comes out, and it features the return of Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, and Dan Aykroyd as Peter Venkman, Winston Zeddemore, and Ray Stantz. And of course, Sigourney Weaver's coming back as Dana Barrett, and we have Annie Potts coming back as Janine. But we also have some new characters. Now, I am going to see the movie tomorrow. I already have my tickets. This is the one movie this year that I've actually wanted to go and see. The one movie I'm going to go to the theaters and see. And I have mild expectations for this movie. I am hoping it's good. I know the critics have been saying negative. They've been talking negative about it over and over again. Yet you hear people who have seen early screenings saying it's a good movie. So I am going to go with a friend tomorrow, and we are going to watch the movie. Now, I will admit, this is also a plug for tomorrow, because when I get home from the movie, I will be going live with a slight review, more of a reaction. If I give away spoilers, trust me, I will put it in the video beforehand, in the video intro, that there will be spoilers ahead. Because if any of you have watched any of my reviews, you know I'm going to stutter and trip over my words going through the review, just like I do with Pop Talk. I mean, that's another reason why I do these live streams, to try to prevent this from happening. The more I talk, the more I get comfortable doing this. And I'll be honest, I've been doing this for 2 years, and sometimes I don't do so bad, and then other times it's like, oh, hit the reset button. But I will be giving you my live reaction to the movie, and it'll be one of two things. If I show my face on camera and I got this big grin on my face, then you'll know I liked it. If I don't show my face on camera and listen to the tone of my voice, and if the tone of my voice sounds like I felt like I wasted money, I'll let you know. But I also feel that this is a movie where you, as a listener or a viewer of the channel, if you're interested in seeing it, you have to make your own determination as to whether or not you want to see it. I can't make it for you. I won't make it for you. It's completely up to you. So here's another article I want to talk about tonight. And before I get too far ahead and get to this next article, let me post a link to a poll I have currently on my Twitter page. And the poll is simple. I'm asking, are you looking forward to seeing Ghostbusters Afterlife? You can answer yes, or you can answer no, or if you want to, you can leave a comment down in the comment section below. So I will go ahead and include the link. There you go. There's a link to the poll, and Godzillionaire is saying, I got my ticks for Ghostbusters for Saturday. I'm going dark tomorrow until after that. Understood. I completely understand. And like I said, I'm going to try to give a non-spoiler review. I will do my best not to spoil it for anybody. But I will definitely let you all know if I like it or if I don't like it. I will give my reasons why. And while giving those reasons, I will do my best not to spoil the movie for anyone. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this next article. Right. So this article is from Bounding into Comics, and it says director Ridley Scott slams superhero movies. They're effing boring as, well, feces. This is by Spencer Piccoli, and it was written on Sunday. Yeah, that's what we're all doing. Anybody who is a fan of the original Ghostbusters, even Ghostbusters 2, I know some people don't like it as much as the first Ghostbusters, but that's what we're doing. We're rewatching the movies because we got enjoyment out of those movies. I am gonna say this because I'll probably say it tomorrow in my reaction review. Is that the one thing I wish could have happened? Is I wish we could have gotten Harold Ramis. I wish this could have happened before he unfortunately passed away 7 years ago. But I'm also curious to see how they work Egon and his family into the story. How it all blends into what we already know of the Ghostbusters franchise from what we saw from the original Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and now this one. Now, if you've played the Ghostbusters video game that was released in 2009, do you consider that a sequel to Ghostbusters 2? I do. I do, and I'll tell you why. It's all in part, all because you have Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, and Harold Ramis voicing Egon and Peter and Winston and Ray. And the story, even ties into the previous movies. Hello, games, movies, and comics are us. It's going good. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, brother. Good to see you. I appreciate you stopping by, but yes, before I get on with this article, I was just talking about going to see Ghostbusters tomorrow, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and you know, you guys are gonna laugh, but I even have my Ghostbusters shirt that I got a few years ago. It's all ready. It is all ready because I'll admit, part of me is looking forward to seeing this movie. I I didn't care for Ghostbusters 2016. I didn't find it funny. And it was supposed to be funny, but I didn't find it funny. I didn't think it was any good either. But as far as, seeing Afterlife tomorrow, I am looking forward to it. You know, there are some things you just got to look forward to, and if it's a movie, great. If it's a book, great. TV show, great. A vacation, great. A promotion, more power to you. But anyways, this article out of Bounding into Comics about Ridley Scott and his opinion on comic book movies. Well, let's find out what Mr. Scott has to say. And this is by Spencer Bacall, and it was released on Sunday. It says, Ridley Scott, the director behind such iconic works as Alien and Gladiator, has become the latest Hollywood filmmaker to take aim at superhero films, recently declaring that he finds the entirety of the genre effing boring as feces. Goes on to say, Scott revealed his thoughts on the state of the superhero cinema during a recent interview with Deadline, given in promotion of the release of his upcoming biographical crime drama, House of Gucci. It goes on to say, Have you ever watched Waterloo? Scott asked in return. Holy F. That's just doing one battle. I'm sorry. Sergey, and I know I'm going to butcher this last name, so forgive me. Bondarchuk, or uh, I'm hoping that's how you say it. You've got to be very careful in battle films that you understand what's going on. Otherwise, they very quickly wear out and get boring. He continued, I don't care how majestic it is. I don't care how many uniforms you got. It gets boring. Napoleon had about 61 battles. Borchuk tried to do it with one. You can't tell Napoleon in one either, because we're meeting him at the end of his life as a leader, and he would go on another 6 years after Waterloo when he was in prison in St. Helena. I feel you can't do Napoleon in one battle, said Scott before randomly bringing up superhero films into the conversation, so I narrowed it down to this. Almost always, the best films are driven by the characters, and we'll come to superheroes after this if you want, because I'll crush it. I'll fucking crush it. They're fucking boring as shit. Asked by Fleming Jr. for his main gripe about superhero movies, Scott asserted their scripts are not any effing good. I think I have done 3 great scripted superhero movies, he then opined. One would be Alien with Sigourney Weaver, one would be fucking Gladiator, and one would be Harrison Ford in Blade Runner. Okay. He added their superhero movies. So why don't the superhero movies have better stories? Sorry, I got off on a rail, but I mean, come on. He concluded his thoughts on the genre or genre. They are mostly saved by special effects, and That's become boring for everyone who works with special effects if you've got the money. And of course, it's showing a still from Black Widow. And Black Widow, it was just more the same from Marvel, insert joke here, insert joke there. But yeah, Ridley Scott is not a fan. Not a fan. And honestly, if you've never seen Alien, oh, you got to see it. You've got to watch it. It'll scare the shit out of you, but you've got to watch it. It's an excellent movie. And Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, excellent. Yes, the MCU is losing money because that is actually the next topic of discussion I wanted to get to, Godzilla and Air. And it's in full relation to the Eternals. So let's get into it. So let's go here. I will pop it up. And here we go. This is coming from Variety. And it says Eternals leads box office over Clifford the Big Red Dog. But let's read more into this article. It says Marvel's comic book epic Eternals is once again dominating domestic box office charts. In its second week of release, the superhero adventure has collected a leading $27.5 million from 4,090 North American theaters through Sunday. It grossed the 100 million mark in the US and Canada, with box office receipts at 118 million. 118 million used to be its opening weekend for a Marvel cinematic film. For practically most films prior to the current situation. So to boast that it's actually there in its second week, that's not really something to boast about, in my opinion. Not when you compare it to how the movies were doing prior to everything that's going on. And one quick moment, just checking the message here. Let's see. Okay. Let's continue on. So it says, though it wouldn't be a particularly notable benchmark in pre-COVID times, only a handful of films have surpassed 100 million domestically in 2021. Well, that's because there are still a lot of people who don't want to risk going to the movie theaters. All right. Now, my local theater, they want people to wear a mask when they go. Fine. I'll wear a mask. If I have to wear a mask to watch a movie, fine. It's not going to take away my enjoyment of the movie. My eyes are still going to be looking at the silver screen. Now, of course, I'm going to take the mask off when I'm eating something or drinking something. But if I'm required to wear a mask to enter the building, I'll do it. It's not that hard. No, I know people have their own viewpoints on that, and that's fine. We're all allowed, and we should be allowed to have our own points of view. We don't have to always agree. We can disagree. We can amicably disagree. So it says Eternals declined 61% from its 71 million debut. I've dropped that falls somewhere in between Marvel's other pandemic releases, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which declined 52% in its sophomore outing, and Black Widow, which declined 67% in its sophomore outing. Eternals, like Shang-Chi, is playing only in theaters, whereas Black Widow premiered on Disney Plus for $30 on top of the monthly subscription fees. On the same day it opened in cinemas, Internationally, Eternals added another 48 million from 49 markets, boosting its tally to 162.6 million overseas and 281.4 million worldwide. Compared to recent entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Eternals has gotten the best reviews. It is the only installment to receive a rotten rating on review aggregation site Rotten Tomatoes, and it's one of the few to land a cinema score grade lower than A from audiences. Those factors didn't affect Sony's comic book sequel, Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which had a similar audience score and critic sentiment. However, moviegoers have come to develop much higher expectations and standards for Disney's MCU, a franchise that's critically and commercially unrivaled. But there's some kinks in the armor. All right, so it goes on to say, speaking of Venom, the second feature film that centers on Tom Hardy's alien symbiote became the second COVID era release to surpass 200 million at the domestic box office. After nearly 2 months in theaters, the movie placed at number 5 with 4 million from 2,538 venues, propelling revenues to 202 million. Shang-Chi, which is the highest grossing film of 2021 with 224 million to date, is the only other film to cross 200 million this year. Globally, Venom: Let There Be Carnage has eclipsed 441 million in ticket sales. In second place on the domestic box office charts, Paramount's family-friendly adventure Clifford the Big Red Dog pulled in 16.4 million from 3,700 locations between Friday and Saturday. The film, which is available simultaneously on the streaming service Paramount Plus, got a jump on the weekend by opening in the theaters on Wednesday and has generated 22 million in its first 5 days of release. Based on the popular children's book series Clifford the Big Red Dog, follows 12-year-old Emily Elizabeth, who is gifted a little red puppy and quickly turns into a giant 10-foot canine. The movie has gotten mixed reviews from critics. It has a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, but positive reactions from ticket buyers. It has an A cinema score, so it's got that going for it. We know that segments of the family audience are not ready to come back to theaters given where we are with the current state of the pandemic, said Paramount Pictures domestic distribution president Chris Aronson. Until vax levels amongst children are more robust, this release strategy is very successful because it gives families a choice of seeing the film in theaters or on Paramount Plus, while also priming the exhibition pump, which we very much believe in. Clifford had a decent start considering its hybrid release, though analysis believe it would have made even more money by having an exclusive theatrical window before moving to digital platforms. However, family crowds have been slow to return to cinemas because young children have only recently been able to get vaccinated against COVID-19, so Paramount wanted to couch ticket sales while boosting its nascent streaming service in the process. Paramount says Clifford the Big Red Dog has been a popular option on Paramount Plus, but the company failed to provide any actual viewership data to back up that sentiment. And you're never going to see that viewership data either. It says the streaming option is not helping these movies, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. Without it, their value would be greater on each and every platform. Still, he says This is a very solid opening in the face of difficult family movie-going conditions. It says Dune, the sci-fi spectacle, from Warner Brothers and Legendary, placed third with 5.5 million from 3,282 domestic screens. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, the movie has grossed 93 million in North America while playing concurrently on HBO Max. At the international box office, Dune collected 6.8 million this weekend, bringing its overseas total to 258 million and its global tally to a mighty 351.2 million. In fourth place, No Time to Die amassed 4.6 million from 2,867 theaters in North America. The latest James Bond installment featuring Daniel Craig's fifth and final outing as 007 has earned 150 million in 6 weeks. With 464 million overseas, No Time to Die has grossed 700 million worldwide, becoming the only second Hollywood movie in pandemic times to hit that threshold. The first to crush that milestone was Universal's action adventure F9, The Fast Saga, which tapped out with a strong 721 million globally. Many big budget Hollywood films, including Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, and Venom, haven't been able to screen in China, the world's biggest movie market, a factor that has likely prevented those tentpoles from nearing a similar benchmark. On the independent scene, Belfast, a black and white autobiographical drama by Kenneth Branagh, managed to secure the number 7 spot on box office charts. The well-reviewed film collected 1.8 million from 580 domestic venues, translating to 111 per location. Belfast had the best audience turnout in New York City and Los Angeles, followed by San Francisco and Chicago. Focus will continue to expand the footprint for Belfast and awards season hopeful in the coming weeks. All right, so basically they're hyping the fact that Eternals has made money in its second week, but again, if you compare to previous weeks, previous years, I should say, it's nowhere near a juggernaut at the box office. And who knows if we're ever going to see a movie that's going to be a pure juggernaut at the box office like we used to. I don't know if we are. I really don't. I mean, I'm not a insider, and so I have no clue as to, you know, when people will finally feel comfortable to go out to the movie theaters, or if they'll ever feel comfortable going out to the movie theaters. Like I said, I'm going to see Ghostbusters, and I will abide by the rules set by my local theater and put on a mask. It's just something you have to do. If there's still places that require you to wear a mask, whether you're vaxxed or unvaxxed, then, I'll do it. I'm not saying I'm happy about doing it, but I'll do it. I'll do it because if I want to, go to a sporting event bad enough, go to a movie bad enough, well, if those are the rules, well, I'll do it. If I wanted to go to that sporting event or a movie bad enough. I mean, sure, I could whine and complain about it, but what's that going to do? That's not going to do anyone any good. All right, so let's go ahead and go with this article right here, which will lead into the main topic of discussion for tonight. go. And there we go. All right. Let me put it on screen here. Cancel that. It says Netflix replaces Disney in 300 billion market cap club. All right. So it goes on to say Disney might not exactly be in celebration mode on the second birthday of its streaming service, Disney Plus. After spending most of the year with a market value above 300 billion, Disney fell from grace following its disappointing fiscal Q4 financial results after the market closed November 10th. During the following trading session, Disney's stock tanked 7% for its worst day since June 2020, and its market cap closed below 300 billion for the first time since January 27th. On the other hand, rival Netflix had plenty to celebrate since it released quarter three results on October 19th. The stock surged nearly 7% since its report, and thanks to its recent hits like Squid Game, Netflix currently has a market cap of 302 billion as of market close November 12th. The streaming giant first crossed that milestone on October 29th. Okay, so you may be wondering why VIP Plus is making a big deal about 300 billion. Consumers are notoriously fickle and investors can be too. One bad quarter for Disney Plus and a good bunch already jumped ship. If you follow the markets in any capacity, then you know everyone hypes up nice round numbers. That's why it's always a big hurrah every time the Dow clears 1,000-point milestone, with Dow 36,000 being the latest. While some may argue that these round numbers don't actually reflect anything significant, they actually do. They are big indicators of investor sentiment and emotion are what drive the markets. For media companies, streaming is the future and investors are ready to give it and take it away depending on the growth performance of those streaming platforms. To be very clear, Disney and Netflix are completely different companies, and the only real comparison is between their two streaming businesses, even though Netflix has been in the game way longer than Disney. Goes on to say that being said, despite being around for just 2 years, Disney Plus is firmly holding onto the number two spot behind Netflix. There are a couple of factors to consider when thinking about Disney Plus's early strength and current struggles. The timing of Disney Plus's launch on November 12th, 2019 was both a blessing and a curse. It came a few months before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, when people around the world were suddenly forced to stay home and find ways to entertain themselves. Every other aspect of Disney's business was crushed. Theme parks had to close indefinitely, and TV and film studios had to halt production. Disney Plus was a life raft for the company that saw every other aspect of its business get pummeled under the immense weight of an uncertain macroeconomic backdrop. During those dark times, the light at the end of the tunnel for Disney was the fact that people were under quarantine restrictions, and as a result, at-home entertainment consumption skyrocketed. Children couldn't go to school, and adults couldn't go into their work offices. Thanks to that shift in consumer behavior, at-home entertainment services providers, including Netflix and Disney, saw inflated engagement for the better part of 2020. Streaming platforms saw sky high subscription figures, but most knew that kind of pull forward effect, as Netflix management first put it, wouldn't be sustainable once life returned to normal and COVID was a thing of the past. Now that vaccines are being distributed and life is slowly returning to normal, this volatility in Disney Plus subscriber figures and Disney stock should be viewed as more near term noise than long term worry. Legacy media companies are furiously shifting their business from a profitable linear first model to an unprofitable streaming first model. That kind of massive change takes time and money and patience. Disney Plus added a much fewer than expected 2.1 million global paid subscribers in the previous quarter, but the service has a whopping 118 million subs only 2 years after launch. Well, it doesn't have my sub anymore. That's still impressive by any stretch of the imagination. Friday, Disney unveiled a slew of new content coming to the platform during its first ever Disney Plus Day, but now is the real test. Now CEO Bob Chapek will have to find his groove on the content side to spark the next phase of growth for Disney Plus. Relying on what worked last year is not enough anymore. It goes on to say, all that being said, I expect this market valuation tug of war between the two biggest streaming services to persist, which VIP Plus noted in May 2020 focuses on the next major shift, which could very well be in Disney's favor. Disney first surged past 300 billion in market value following its investor day on December 11th, where it provided an optimistic long-term guidance for Disney Plus. Though a formal date hasn't been announced for Investor Day this year, perhaps good news delivered then could be a much needed boost to regain its place in the coveted 300 billion market cap club. Well, Disney's not hurting. Even if they're not in that club, they're not hurting. And like I said, I canceled my Disney Plus subscription. I actually got a notice today saying if I wanted to renew my subscription, and I'll admit I had the yearly subscription only because I shared it with a few other people. But they said if I wanted to renew, I would have to pay $80 to renew. And no, I'm not doing it. I didn't watch it that much. And the people I was sharing it with, we weren't watching it that much. So it would be a waste of money. You know, there's plenty of apps where you can actually watch free TV. I mean, there's Pluto out there. And you can actually watch free TV. And there are more than Pluto, but they're just not coming to mind at this point. But still, there's plenty of free TV still out there that you can watch. Yeah, you'll probably have to watch ad upon ad in order to watch these shows or watch a movie, but you're still able to watch it. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. Again, I hope you're all doing well this evening. Thank you all for stopping by. If you're liking what you're seeing, well, let me know in the comment section or leave a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. I do enjoy doing this. I know I'm not the best when I'm reading these articles, but in time, doing this more and more, I hope to see vast improvement. So let's go ahead and go on to the next article, and it'll actually continue with Netflix. And one thing in particular, Cowboy Bebop. And this article is from Bounding into Comics. And it's by Spencer Macaulay. It was released on Sunday. It says, costume designer for Netflix Cowboy Bebop says she felt resistant to the idea of Faye Valentine being gratuitous or overly sexualized. It says, according to Jane Holland, the costume designer for Netflix upcoming live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, Faye Valentine's appearance was designed as less than character accurate because Holland personally felt resistant to the idea of the lead female character being gratuitous or overly sexualized. Okay, it goes on to say Holland defended her choice to radically alter Faye's iconic appearance, a decision which has been met with considerable backlash amongst fans of the original anime. In a recent interview with Business Insider, explaining the sort of threads that I was pulling on to kind of draw together came from the same place and same thought process that I had to go through for Spike and for Jet. Goes on to say, and there you can see the original Faye from the anime. It says, I feel like it's a respectful rendition of the anime, the designer asserted. I do have to say, as a woman, I felt resistant to the idea of the lead female character being gratuitous or overly sexualized. She further argued it's not about it not being revealing, it's not about any of that. It's actually got all those elements. But my take on it is that it's designed by a woman and it was made by a lot of women and it's worn by a woman. So the same elements are there, but they have just manifested in a different way. And it goes on to say Holland also claimed that the costume was changed for real world practicality reasons in order to make actress Danielle Pineda more comfortable during nighttime shoots. There is a lot of action, she said. We filmed over a long period of time through different seasons. We had a lot of night shifts in Oakland, so Jet and Spike were fine because they had much more practical clothing in the anime. She needed that as well. A curious argument given how actors are typically provided warming materials or allowed to change during moments when they're not actively filming. And it goes on to say the designer then turned to some of the details on Faye's outfit, noting that it's fascinating, had a tiny little labyrinth engraved on it, while down the back of her leggings there's this abstract print. It's a top view of block letters from Babes in Arms, which is the name of the musical that the song My Funny Valentine comes from. And Faye Valentine's episode when she's cryogenically frozen is called My Funny Valentine, she concluded. Interesting, during the interview, Holland admitted that before signing on to Cowboy Bebop, she was ignorant about how concerned fans were regarding the respectful treatment of the source material, telling the news outlets that a number of fans had previously told her, don't F it up. And of course, I'm just going to go out and say it, if anyone has ever watched professional wrestling and have watched the women who wrestle, whether it be in AEW, WWE, Impact Wrestling, MCW, and a few others, well, you're familiar with the wrestling attire that these women wear. And that's really no different than Faye's costume, in my opinion. And honestly, From what I've seen concerning Cowboy Bebop, the live action, I'm not talking about the anime, but the live action, I I don't know that it's going to be even worth my time watching, let alone reviewing. And the reason why I say that is because some of the reviews have come out, and I am going to speak of one of them right now. So, this article is coming from The Hollywood Reporter. There we go. It's by Angie Han. And it says Netflix Cowboy Bebop TV review. John Cho, Mustafa Shakir, and Daniel Pineda lead a live action adaptation of the classic anime series about a ragtag band of intergalactic bounty hunters in the year 2071. And it starts off by saying, what's the point of adapting Cowboy Bebop in live action? That's the question I found myself asking over and over during the roughly 10 hours on Netflix news series. And it's one I grew to suspect its creators had spent too little time asking themselves before they took the plunge. As far as it's possible to tell, their line of thinking seems to have been that it would be cool if someone recreated the classic anime series in live action, and that those someones might as well be themselves. If there was ever any inkling of expanding or reconsidering the source material, not a trace of it remains in the final product. In an apparent effort to woo fans of the original, the series is faithful to a fault. It's to be expected that the new version would also focus on a ragtag team of intergalactic bounty hunters, ex-hitmans Spike Spiegel, John Cho, ex-cop Jet Black, Mustafa Shakir, and amnesic con artist Faye Valentine, Daniel Pineda, trying to scrape together a living in the nearest future while simultaneously wrestling with demons from their respective past. But it didn't necessarily need to follow that the series would replicate the same job of the week storyline, mimic the shots to a T, and set the exact plot beats to the same still catchy Yoko Kano tunes. And this comes out Friday, in case anyone's curious. Comes out Friday on Netflix. And it says the few deviations it does make seem primed to divide fans supporting characters like Spike's former flame, Julia, Elena, Satine, have been given more screen time, only for the writers to struggle to come up with anything for them to do. While another prominent fan favorite has been axed almost entirely, the series' biggest sin, however, is that as it dutifully retraces the steps of its predecessor, it captures none of the magic the zippy pacing has turned lead in, the sharp visuals reduced to muddy CG, and playful humor translated as phony laughter, the lived in grittiness replaced with shoddy looking sets. It's a Cowboy Bebop too fixated on checking off boxes to consider writing its own list, which in turn makes it difficult to imagine what the updated show could possibly have to offer non fans. There's precious little of Cowboy Bebop that feels either fresh enough to demand attention or sturdy enough to promise comfort. Its vision of dinged up future looks like nothing so much as a knockoff Firefly made for a fraction of the budget. Seriously, one of the show's biggest shocks is how cheap it looks. Its gestures at noir and Western tropes feel like a little more than just that, gestures, not earnest attempts to embody or enrich them in any way. That laziness carries over to most of its characters, who may as well be bar napkins scrawled with yeah, come on, Mike, speak adjectives for all the depth they are given. Spike, the lead, suffers the additional indignity of miscasting. Cho fills the role like it's a Halloween costume he can't wait to take off. He might be able to work that blue suit long enough for a few pretty shots on Insta, but the second he speaks or moves, it becomes clear that he can't get a handle on Spike's youthful, cool, or simmering self loathing. He, along with most of the cast, to be fair, struggles to conjure any spark of chemistry with his scene partner, which, given how much of a series' emotional effectiveness depends on the viewer caring deeply about Spike's relationships with Julia and Jet, deadlier is a deadlier blow than any villainous vicious Axel yeah. See, I keep tripping up. And that's going to happen until I improve. Vicious Axel Hassel might be able to met out. The series does have two bright spots. One is Ian, an adorable corgi who steals the show simply by being adorable. An adorable corgi. Look, I never said my standards were high. Goes on to say the other is Pineda. Though her Faye Valentine doesn't show up until a few episodes in, her performance is the only one that feels uh, a piece with the world that which show has tried to build. All right, so basically, what I'm getting is that from one reviewer's perspective, this show isn't any good and it looks cheap. That's what I'm getting from that article. That the show isn't any good and it looks cheap. I am not going to be watching the Netflix version of Cowboy Bebop. I would rather continue watching the anime, which I'm actually still 3 episodes in, between that and a few others. I, I'm taking my time with getting into new anime series. I don't want to start rushing into even more when I still have Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate to finish. I still have to finish Fairy Tale. Still have to catch up on My Hero Academia. I haven't watched it in a few days, so I have to check and see if there are any other episodes that are available to watch. But I'm enjoying my journey into anime. I just don't feel that you have to adapt every anime or every other animated series that's ever been made into live action, because in some cases it just doesn't work. And Daniel Pineda's attitude toward the fans, being upset about Faye Valentine's costume, well, that's a turn off in my opinion. So let's see. We will talk about a few more things and then I'm going to call it a night. So let's go ahead and talk about Star Wars. Why not? We all have our favorite Star Wars movies. Mine's Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith. Those are my two favorites. And we have an article here from Bounding into Comics. It was released on Monday. And it's by Spencer McCauley. And it says, rumors Star Wars Rogue Squadron film delayed due to creative differences between director Patty Jenkins and Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm. What do you think of when you think of Lucasfilm? You think of the head of Lucasfilm herself, Kathleen Kennedy. It says, despite previous claims that the decision to place the project on the back burner was based on scheduling conflicts, a new rumor suggests that the recent indefinite delay of Patty Jenkins' planned Star Wars Rogue Squadron film was actually due to creative differences between the director and Lucasfilm executives. It goes on to say, according to former The Hollywood Reporter editor Matthew Maloney, reporting on information allegedly relayed to him by a few insiders for his personal blog, Puck, Rogue Squadron's rescheduling was not caused by scheduling problems or prior commitments, but rather the real culprit was the dreaded creative differences. Specifically, explained Belloni, Jenkins couldn't agree on the script with Lucasfilm executives, including Senior Vice President Michelle Rouge or John. I don't know. I know I'm mispronouncing that. It says Baloney further noted that his insiders informed him that such a disagreement was not unusual, of course, but it's a laughably recurring problem at Lucasfilm under President Kathleen Kennedy, as top filmmakers are dying to make a Star Wars movie until they sign on and experience the micromanagement and plot point by committee process. It happened to the Game of Thrones guys, David Benoff and Dan Weiss, who were hired to create a new trilogy but bailed. It also happened to Rian Johnson, writer and director of 2017's The Last Jedi, whose own planned trilogy was shelved. Jenkins wasn't willing to jerk around, and she has other projects, notably Wonder Woman 3 at Warner Brothers, where she enjoys more creative freedom. It says Rogue Squadron's delay was first revealed on November 8th when The Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt reported that his sources had informed him that the producers and filming team came to the realization that Jenkins' schedule and other commitments wouldn't allow for the window needed to make the movie in 2022. Been taken off the production schedule real quick. The hope is that once Jenkins fulfills her previous commitments, she will be able to return to the project. As of writing, neither Disney or Lucasfilm nor Jenkins have publicly commented on this rumor. What do you think of Baloney's report? Let us know in your thoughts and all that jazz. But honestly, I think it leads to the next article discussion, and that's, is she or isn't she staying with Lucasfilm for another 3 years? There's been a lot of rumors about this for quite some time. Many YouTubers, including myself, have speculated as to whether she'll be renewed or whether she'll be let go. I know myself, I think there needs to be changes at Lucasfilm to make Star Wars the juggernaut it once was, because it's not a juggernaut anymore. The reason why it's not a juggernaut is because The Last Jedi, it failed. Rise of Skywalker, well, it wasn't a rise to anything. I mean, I wasn't thrilled by the movie. I didn't enjoy the movie. It just seemed like they were just trying to stick puzzle pieces into the puzzle, whether they fit or not. And the only movie I've actually enjoyed under Disney's management is Rogue One. Rogue One is the only one I've enjoyed out of all of them. Yes, I had an initial reaction to The Force Awakens where I initially liked it, but upon further viewings, I don't like it as much. And, I'll admit, part of my liking it to begin with was seeing Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and then Mark Hamill at the end, but I still feel that you needed to have a scene with Han, Luke, and Leia in The Force Awakens. Because I look at it this way, and I've been talking to other people, and they feel this way too. That Han, Luke, and Leia are just as important as Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Those three characters in Star Wars, Han, Luke, and Leia, are just as important as Kirk, Spock, and McCoy from Star Trek. Those characters are the foundations of their respective franchises. And to not have a scene with Han, Luke, and Leia together, well, that's just stupid. That's just absolutely stupid. It's absolutely stupid that you have those three actors come back to reprise their roles and you don't give them a scene together. Heck, more than a scene, several scenes together. You don't even have a scene with them on the Millennium Falcon. What the heck? What the heck? But, as far as a certain rumor, is she gone or is she still here? Is she in limbo? Well, according to Screen Rant, they have an answer to that very question. Screen Rant has an answer. Now, is it true? I don't know. I really don't know. Is it not true? Is it just rumor? Again, I don't know. I'll tell you what I am going to do. What I do know is I'm going to wait for the official word from Disney. And I want to say hello to Green Lantern 345. Hell to you. Good to see you here. What do you think? Is she or is she not here? Meaning, is it possible Kathleen Kennedy is still the head of Lucasfilm? I mean, I really don't know. And again, I think it would be smart to wait for an official word if we ever get an official word from Disney Lucasfilm. I don't want to say, oh, she's gone. Yes, a part of me wishes that she were gone. Wishes that there was a whole change in the powers that be at Lucasfilm. But it's not going to happen. And I'm going to relate it to some other rumors I've heard. And they are baseball rumors, and I know I probably should save this for the Box Score Mound visit, but it was just one release today saying that the Cubs are going to spend. Yet Jed Hoyer comes out and says that we're going to build a team that's postseason capable, not World Series capable. But honestly, I don't buy it until I see the Cubs make moves, or Disney in this case, make moves to improve what's going on in their overall company for their overall products. I'm not going to believe it. And Green Lantern says, I honestly haven't been paying much attention, but from my sources, Disney might not look the same next year. Yeah, very possible. Very possible they won't look the same next year. I mean, couldn't you say that about a lot of companies, though? Especially with what's been going on the last year, going into this year, and going into next year, that a lot of companies are going to look vastly different from what they look like at the end of 2019. I mean, I'm no business insider, I'm no Hollywood insider, but couldn't you say the same thing about so many other businesses? But anyways, this article is from Screen Rant, and it's by Chris Agar, and it was published 2 days ago. It says Lucasfilm renews Kathleen Kennedy's contract through 2024. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy extends her contract with the studio for another 3 years, keeping her as president until at least 2024. Now, here's another thing. Indiana Jones 5 has been delayed till, I believe, 2023, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am, please correct me in the comments. But Indiana Jones 5 has been delayed till 2023, a year before Kathleen Kennedy's supposed new contract expires. So here's my question. Not being from Hollywood, not having that insider knowledge, but could they have just extended her contract so she can see the production of Indiana Jones 5 through, and then after that, they give her her long retirement? Let's see what Green Lantern has to say. Green Lantern says, and there's only so much woke and broke to. I'll say that again. And there is only so much woke and go broke the investors will take. Very true. Very true. Because you see it with fans. We're tired of it. We are tired of it. It's why we're turning our backs on franchises like Star Trek and Doctor Who and Star Wars. Because we're tired of it. We don't want to go watch a TV show and have things that honestly don't need to be in our entertainment shoved in our face. We don't want to go to a movie and have, politics, current day politics shoved in our face when all we have to do is turn on C-SPAN, turn on the news to get it shoved in our face. And I can say this as a baseball fan. I don't need to see it while I'm watching a game. I'm there to watch a game. I'm there to see the Cubs win a game. And Green Lantern also says, yeah, you can, and I think you will. 2022 will be a lot different and a lot better. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we have to look to. We have to look forward, and honestly, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to be optimistic sometimes. There's that pessimistic side of me that surfaces, especially in baseball's off season, when I see one rumor over another concerning the Cubs and other teams. It's like, okay, I'm not going to believe this until I see that this player has signed a new contract. Because I will admit, there are times where I would pay attention to a rumor concerning the Cubs saying that they're going to sign, a pitcher or, an outfielder, an infielder that would be beneficial to the team, and it would never come to pass. And, you allow yourself to be let down if you keep believing one rumor after another. So, like Doomcock says in the beginning of his videos when he's talking about rumors, take it with a grain of salt. My grandfather used to tell my mother, and my mother used to tell me, when you're reading a news article, it doesn't matter what it is, question one half of it, question the other half, then question the entire article again. Because only some of it's the truth. The rest of it is a bunch of malarkey. And Green Lantern 345 says, this is the first time in ever that I am more excited about making my own stuff than anything coming out. And I like Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. I watched the trailer for Book of Boba Fett, and even the Smoking Patriot, who was on my channel at the time, he's also known as Common Sense America. He even agreed with me when we started making Godfather references and actually started, just speaking like Marlon Brando in The Godfather. But that's what it seems like. Boba Fett's now The Godfather. Now, will the series be good? I don't know. We've only seen one trailer. And, it only gave you so much. So, hopefully, before the end of next month, we do see another trailer for it. And would that be enough for me to sign up for a Disney Plus subscription again? Again, like I was saying with Cobra Kai earlier, to pay $8, $9 just to watch one show doesn't seem worth it. Just like paying, $9 or $20, depending on the plan you get for Netflix to watch Cobra Kai season 4 isn't worth it when that's really the only thing I'd be watching. Now, if other members of the household had shows that they wanted to watch on Disney Plus or Netflix, fine. It might be worth it then. But if I'm looking at it from just my standpoint of being me and just me, it's not worth it. And Green Lantern 345 says, the only hope that I have is that Dave and John are doing Book of Boba Fett. Well, you know what? Let me go ahead and look that up before I continue to read the article, and I'll even post it on here. But I'll go to Internet Movie Database and let's see. Okay. Let's see if it'll tell us in what capacity they're in, and I'll also put it on screen once I find that information. Let's see, cast and crew. All cast and crew, and I will share it on screen here. I'll go ahead and stop that for the moment. And yes, Godzillionaire. See, everybody has their own take. Everybody has their own opinion, and we're all allowed to express our own opinions. I mean, I have a subscriber who likes Star Trek Discovery. He knows I don't like it, but I'm not gonna rail at him and go onto Twitter and say so and so likes Star Trek Discovery. I can't believe they like Star Trek Discovery. He knows why I don't like Star Trek Discovery, and I know why he likes it, and we wash our hands of it. So let's see. Of course, we got Tamara Morrison as Boba Fett, Ming Yang Wen, of course, it's Fennec Shand, Jennifer Beals. Don't know who she's playing. It lists Jon Favreau as executive producer for 8 episodes. Dave Filoni, executive producer, 8 episodes. Ludwig Göransson is doing the music for this show like he did for The Mandalorian. Let's see. I'm trying to find out. Are they John and Dave writing any of the stories? Any of the episodes? Production, special effects, yeah. Visual effects, stunts, editorial, location, yeah, transportation, blah blah blah. All right, scroll back up. All right. Well, the only writing credits I'm seeing right now are George Lucas. So, we'll see. We'll see. Now, yes. You're exactly right, Green Lantern. They are in charge of it. So, that in itself is a good thing. Especially if you like The Mandalorian. I know some people don't like The Mandalorian. I happen to like it. I enjoyed season 1 and I enjoyed season 2. And yeah, I enjoyed the final episode last year of season 2 when Luke showed up. I enjoyed it. You don't believe me? Go to my Mandalorian reviews for season 8 and you can see my review for the season finale of season 2. Just to let you know, it's not a planned reaction. It's not a rehearsed reaction. That's my actual reaction to watching the episode. As a matter of fact, instead of talking about it, and you all can watch the rest of it if you want to, I'll go ahead and pull it up here, just so you can see it and know that I'm not pulling any funny business on you guys. So let me just go to my playlist. And while you guys are here, let me ask you this. Do you all like that I have a variety of content on this channel? During the baseball season, I talk about the Cubs. When it's not the baseball season, I focus more on, talking about pop culture, doing more of my movie reviews, gameplays, and episode reviews. Do you guys like that? Because I do, because I feel that variety is the spice of life, but that's just me. You guys are the subscribers. You guys are my audience. Would you like to see some content, placed more on Pacific414 and so much more, or would you rather I just keep everything as is? And I mean, to be quite honest, I do have a variety of people, a variety of subscribers, a variety of different audiences. Some people are only here for the box score during the baseball season. Some people are here for Pop Talk. Some people are here for my movie reviews, episode reviews, gameplay. So, in that respect, and this might be me being naive, but I like that. I like having, an aspect where some people are here for one thing, some people are here for another thing, and sometimes some of those same people, well, they're there for all of it. Okay. So, Green Lantern, I feel like you do you and you'll get the fans like that. Well, thank you, Green Lantern. So, don't worry. Claim this video. I won't give myself a copyright claim or copyright strike, but here, I'll just get to the video itself instead of, my local intro and I am your host, Mike, and you want me to go through the whole episode? Because I don't think I can. I don't think I can go through the whole episode. If you haven't heard by now, I do recommend that you turn off this video, mute this video, watch the season finale of The Mandalorian, and then come back to this video. But if you have already heard, because it was spoiled by some people on the early morning, but it wasn't spoiled for me because it's the first thing I did when I got ready for the day. I turned it on and watched it before I had to go a few places. But anyways, that season finale of The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, the show that is iconic after watching an episode of Star Trek Discovery. The show that has basically helped, given Star Wars fans what they had been asking for from the beginning. What they were asking for from the sequel trilogy. We got it in this episode. We got Mando and his band of misfits going to rescue Grogu. We saw Cara Dune being a badass. We saw Fennec Shand being a badass. Bo-Katan being a badass. Casca Reeves, Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her, being a badass. We got what we've been wanting since the end of Return of the Jedi back in 83. Some of us were only 5 years old in 83. But we got what we wanted to see in the sequels in just a few short moments. Yes, it was a few short moments. It was near the end, but it was what we'd been asking for from the beginning. And thanks to Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and the creative team behind The Mandalorian, we got it. Damn it, we got it. And I'm going to pause it right there. Stop it right there. If you want to watch the rest of it, it'll be in the season 2 playlist for The Mandalorian. But that was my reaction to seeing Luke come back. Because I'll also admit, I was a Star Trek fan first. But I grew to love Star Wars. Yes, I will admit. I had that point where I'm all, Star Trek is better than Star Wars. But then I grew up and I started to see the greatness in Star Wars. Because there is greatness in Star Wars. Just like there's still greatness in Star Trek. I mean, Paul from the Star Wars guys has just gotten into Star Trek. He's watched the first 3 seasons of the original series. He's watched Star Trek Continues by Vic Mignogna. He's watched the motion picture, and he's watched The Wrath of Khan. And just to hear him talk about The Wrath of Khan, the way all of us have spoken about that film, our love for that film, how high of a pedestal that film is on, because it deserves to be on that pedestal. You know, to hear him talk about it, that's what's great. And that's how you introduce people to great Star Wars. That's how you introduce people to great Star Trek. Is you show them the greatness of those franchises. And who knows, you may be inspiring the next person to write the next Star Wars story, the next great Star Trek story. But anyways, this article out of Screen Rant says Kathleen Kennedy reportedly renews her contract with Lucasfilm through 2024. When Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, George Lucas handpicked Kennedy to be the studio's new president, entrusting his old colleague to oversee a new wave of Star Wars and Indiana Jones projects. Come on, Mike, slow down. Nearly a decade later, a slate of 5 Star Wars movies have been released. A plethora of Star Wars TV shows are coming through the pipeline, and Indiana Jones 5 is currently filming and ahead of its 2023 release date. While there is a lot of viewers to look forward to, Kennedy's tenure has proven to be divisive amongst audiences for a variety of reasons. Outside of creative decisions made for the Star Wars sequel trilogy splitting audiences, Lucasfilm has become rather infamous for behind the scenes turmoil, resulting in several filmmakers leaving the studio. Phil Lord and Chris Miller's shocking firing from Solo, A Star Wars Story, is the most notable example, but Lucasfilm has also parted ways with Josh Trank, Colin Trevorrow, and others more. More recently, Patty Jenkins' Star Wars spin-off Rogue Squadron was delayed due to creative differences. This has caused some to believe Lucasfilm would be better off without Kennedy, but she's staying around. And it goes on to say in Matthew Baloney's newsletter for Puck, Hat Tip Star Wars News Net, it mentioned Kennedy's deal with Lucasfilm has been extended, keeping her in place as president until at least 2024. Read the relevant section in the space below. It says Kennedy has a lot of good things happening at Lucasfilm, and I'm told she recently re-upped her deal for another 3 years. Kennedy previously had her contract extended years back in 2018, so a decision on her future had to be made soon. Even with the news about Rogue Squadron delay, it would appear Disney is pleased with the way Kennedy is running Lucasfilm. Despite the sequel trilogy earning a mixed reception, Star Wars seems to be in a strong place on the small screen. Well, come on. A lot of that is due to what started with the Clone Wars. Let's be honest here. All right, so it goes on to say, as I find my place again. All right, next reception. Star Wars seems to be in a strong place on the small screen. The Mandalorian is the crown jewel of Disney Plus's lineup, and Lucasfilm also has the Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Andor, and more on the way. It remains to be seen, how successful each of these series are, but anticipation for all are high, and the Disney higher-ups must be impressed by what they've seen so far. Indiana Jones 5 is also shaping up to be intriguing, with Logan director James Mangold calling the shots on Harrison Ford's probable swan as the archaeologist. There is plenty of excitement surrounding these projects, though it will still be interesting to see what happens over the next few years. Disney, of course, wants to bring Star Wars back to movie theaters at some point. Should creative differences with directors persist, the company may decide to go in a different direction after 2024. These types of issues pop up in the industry, even at Marvel, but they've been quite prevalent at Lucasfilm since Kennedy took over. Lucasfilm brass needs to work on ironing out any creative issues early in the process. By the time a new Star Wars movie is announced, everyone involved should be on the same page. Well, you can say that about anything. You could, again, going back to baseball, you have to make sure that the front office is on the same page, that the coaching staff on the field is on the same page, the scouts are on the same page, and that the players on that roster are all on the same page. And that page is to bring a World Series championship back to their respective city when everything is all said and done. And that's how Disney and Lucasfilm needs to look at it too. They need to make sure that they hire the right writers, right directors, people who are passionate about the project, people who want the project to succeed, and they will write a story that'll help them succeed due to fan reception. But we haven't seen that. I'm not going to act like we haven't seen that because I wish we had, but we haven't. Again, we never got a scene with Han, Luke, and Leia. And I know I'm not the only one that's been bringing that up, but that's all us diehard fans really wanted. That's all us early adopters of Star Wars ever wanted. Those who watched Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, that's all we ever wanted, is to see Han, Luke, and Leia on screen together again, not in separate scenes, not near the end where, you know, in the next movie, Luke takes the lightsaber that's been handed to him, the lightsaber that he lost on Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back, not where he takes it and tosses it over his shoulder. That's like tossing away his father's legacy as a Jedi. Nah, nah. You need good writing, and I'm not saying I'm the answer because I don't think I am. But as a fan, I'm saying you need good writing and you need to have a compelling story that interests people, from the get go. It doesn't start off with the character having every single ability handed to him or her. That the character does have to go through the growing pains, has to go, you know, through the trials and tribulations of going through the hero's story arc. Not to where they know all these abilities instantly. No, that's not good storytelling to me. You don't just hand it to the character. You don't just make them the bestest ever. Yeah, over time they can become the best at what they do. But you don't have them start off that way out of the gate. Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. So, let's see. Was there another article I wanted to talk about, or should I just go ahead and wrap up this episode of Pop Talk? I think I've no, I haven't covered everything. There is one more thing, and then I shall say good night, and I will see you tomorrow. But not yet. Not yet. Just one more article to read, and then I will be out of your hair. And this one is coming from Bounty in the Comics. Why? Because it's where I saw it first. I always try to pick at least 3 articles to talk about during the night on Pop Talk, but if I find other articles, well, I'll talk about them too. So here we go with our next article. Just pull it up here. Here we go. This is from Bounding into Comics. It was released today. It's by John F. Trent. And it says, new Transformers miniseries announced. Yes! Make it announced! That's my bad Megatron impression. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had to listen to my bad Megatron impression, but I'll try to give you a somewhat decent Optimus Prime impression. All right. So, this article says a new Transformers miniseries titled Transformers War's End was announced by IDW Publishing. It says the new miniseries is described by IDW Publishing as an essential companion to their ongoing Transformers series. Transformers War's End is a 4-part miniseries written by Brian Ruckley with art by Jack Lawrence. And there you see Skywarp, Shockwave, and of course, Lord Megatron. Goes on to say that the series will see the return of the warlord Exarn or Ijarn. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that character. Who previously plunged Cybertron into darkness. Not only does Ijarn return, but he will be reunited with his generals Shockwave and Skywarp. IDW adds Cyclonus, a warrior haunted by the horrors of that ancient conflict, seeks a glimmer of hope by testing the illusions of Decepticon leader Megatron, whose own evil machinations, my bad, have so recently fractured civilization into warring factions. Ruckley further provides details. War's End is about unfinished business for both characters and for Cybertron as a whole. It's a return of Cybertron's traumatic past to upend its present and answers the question if your planet has at its core a collective spark of your entire civilization, just how vulnerable might that make you? He adds, I love the fact that we will get to act this out with some of my favorite characters: Cyclonus, Team Stream, Pria Magna, Geomotus, I don't know. Other than, Megatron, Shockwave, Cyclonus, and Skywarp, I'm not familiar with these other characters, to be honest. And Exarn, or Ijarn, I have no fucking idea. I'm sorry for cursing, but, it's late enough. And I always put the warning disclaimer on this anyway. But, anyways, it says they'll all get to take center stage, play for the highest of high stakes, and discover their fates and their futures. Okay, so we're basically getting more Transformers comics backstory, and for those of you who like comics, well, good on you. I can't tell you the last time I actually read a comic other than 2002. That was the last time I ever read a comic. And it was actually a Star Trek The Next Generation comic by IDW. So, there you have it. Some comic news, and it was Transformers related, but some comics news nonetheless. Now, yes, there was a panel that I saw posted on social media of Superman wearing a mask, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's Kryptonian. How do we know that the coof would even affect him like it does us? Just saying. But anyways, I want to say thank you all for stopping by this evening. Really appreciate it. I want to thank Green Lantern 345. I want to thank Godzillionaire for stopping by. I want to thank Games, Movies, and Comics R Us for stopping by. And I want to thank you all for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Hope you liked what you saw. If you did like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't like what you saw, give this video a thumbs down. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. And until the next episode of Pacific414 Pop Talk, this has been Mike. Thank you all very much. I do want to post one last comment. Actually, two comments. Thank you, Green Lantern 345. I just hope they don't ever make them Transformers. Yep, I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. There's other people that have had that thought. And he also goes on to say, also just wanted to let you know I am doing a live stream this Thursday on Transformers and Zoids. Okay, what time are you doing this live stream? And the only reason I'm asking is because at some point tomorrow night when I get home from Ghostbusters Afterlife, I was planning on doing a live stream. But I can be flexible. All right. I'll tell you what. Go ahead and pencil me in. I will be more than happy to come on your channel and we can talk Transformers. No, I'll admit, Zoids, I'm not all that familiar with. But Transformers, except for some of the characters that were mentioned in that new miniseries that's coming out, I'm very familiar with. I actually am on Discord. If you like, you can click on the description down below. You will find the link to my Discord, and we can talk about it further there. Or you can follow me. Let me just put it in here. You can follow me at Pacific414 on Twitter, and we can talk through DMs, however you want to do it. But I am definitely going to make time to join your live stream because I really don't know what time I'm getting back from Ghostbusters. It's not going to be late, but I'm going to say this: the reason why I know it's not going to be late is because I'm going to the 4 o'clock showing. So if that movie, I believe it's 2 hours and 15 minutes or somewhere around that general ballpark, you know, I should be able to get on my channel and start my reaction review at 8 o'clock, and then talk about it for an hour and hop over on your channel at 9:30. Thank you very much, Green Lantern 345. Really appreciate it. I'm trying, and I know I stutter. I know when I'm reading an article, my brain is processing it quicker than I'm actually reading it. But I'm still going to be doing it because I enjoy doing this. This has become a hobby that I really enjoy. And, the people I have met, especially in this last year, it's been great getting to know these content creators in this community, because we are all part of a great community. We may not all agree on, what's happening with, you know, IPs like Star Wars, Star Trek, and Doctor Who, and so on and so forth, but we can always find something that we agree on, or, something to discuss. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. That really does mean a lot. And I give you my word. 9:30 tomorrow night, I will be there. I will not flake on you. If I flake on you, you can go back to this video and say, Mike, you flaked on me. You can contact me on Twitter and say, Mike, you flaked on me. You can find me on Discord. Mike, you flaked on me. You said you wouldn't, but I will not. I promise you. But yeah, and Green Lantern, if you ever want to come on the channel, you're more than welcome. Because I'll be perfectly honest with you, doing something like this, something like Pop Talk, I've even said it to people I've had on Pop Talk before. I said, I enjoy doing it more when I have other people on here to bounce the ideas off of, and instead of just hearing my own thoughts. Time really passes by. There is a YouTuber I recommend you subscribe to. I'll put his name down real quick. Subscribe to him. He's a great guy. So give the Smoking Patriot, give him a subscribe. He does great. I've talked to him ever since I had him on my 55th anniversary Star Trek special of Pop Talk. He's a great guy, and he does do great content when he gets a chance to do content. It's just that he's been so busy that he hasn't been able to focus on his own channel. But I appreciate it every time he comes on here, and I'd love to have you on. So, with that being said, thank you all very much. Have yourselves a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow night. Take care. Yes, it is a situation where you go humana, humana, humana. So, yes. Good night, all.